All right, so the command we're going to move on to next is going to be the place command. The place command is definitely a client favorite because it's stationary control, but it's in a way lenient stationary control. So we have three commands: sit, down, place. That would be considered stationary commands. Down and sit are strict in the sense that sit means put your butt down. You can't lay, you can't stand. Down means lay down, you can't sit, you can't stand. However, with place command, it's simply go to your bed, and a lot of times clients use their dog's beds. You can sit, you can stand, you can lay down, you can chew the bone, you can play with a toy, just don't come off of the object. So a lot of clients favor the down command. The place command. The only drawback is that it does require an object. A lot of clients use like towels, for example. I've had clients use yoga mats, ottomans. They'll take a bed sheet and put it over a particular couch cushion to distinguish that couch cushion from the rest of the couch. You know, there has to be something for the dog to reference in order for them to understand what their target is. Whereas for the sit and down command, it simply means stop what you're doing, put your butt down. And then down, of course, means stop what you're doing and lay down. With place, we don't have that. So here, we can already see Miss Luna is already favoring the object here, right? So I want to start teaching her that in this context, when we're using food, right, I'm luring her, yes, to the object. And we, yes, don't release the reward until all four paws are actively on the dog bed. Yes. So when you saw me leading her up, right? So we got the paws on, right? I'm still holding the reward here. Yes. And then I mark yes once that last paw is on. Yes. But then also rewarding for her coming off the object. Again, when we reward dogs for removing themselves from a position or releasing themselves from a position, it incentivizes them, yes, to release one when we tell them to break, but then also it helps prevent the problem of the dog locking up. So if a dog was taught place first and was drilled over and over again, what that would look like if the dog locked up would be they would not want to come off the object. They would stay on the object. No matter how much you try to lure them, you'll see them just stretch out like this trying to get the treat, but they won't come off because they're so stuck on, I've been here so many times, I've been rewarded so many times. And if we've only rewarded them going on the object, then trying to get them to come off the object is so much harder. So that's why with any command that we're teaching, whether it's the sit, the down, the stay, the place, we're also rewarding when we tell them break, or when we lure them off the object like this, we reward, so they understand that going to the object gets rewarded and coming off the object gets rewarded. Going into the sit gets rewarded, breaking out of the sit gets rewarded. And this helps balance out things, and the dog learns to keep an open mind, and it just keeps things a lot easier. Even in doing these things, dogs can still lock up, like it can still happen, but it's a much easier problem to fix, yes, if the dog already has a concept of being rewarded both for completion and the release of the command. Yes, okay. So this one's fairly simple. Now, one thing to keep in mind is if the intention is to teach your dog to do place with e-collar or prong collar, and you're coming from a background of food, yes, is you still have to reshape the behavior using the tool that you're training with. Meaning, if we're training with the e-collar, I have to reshape the place command with the e-collar. It's not as simple as I've trained my dog to go to place using food. My dog knows how to go to place. Then you attach the aversive, whether it's the prong or the e-collar, right? And then if the dog doesn't do it and or breaks the command, you punish them. That's the idea that most people have when they think of that. There's even still a lot of trainers that train this way, and in my opinion, it's incorrect because we have two completely different worlds, right? We have the world of I'm going to shape everything that I want, and I'm going to reward you, and I'm going to praise you for doing a good job, right? And then the other world is, well, if you don't do it and or if you make a mistake or break the command, I'm going to punish you. They are complete polar opposites to each other. And the problem with this approach is there's no bridge. There's nothing in between to help the dog understand that the correction is because they broke the command and or did not perform the command. They don't connect those things together, which is why after I trained a dog, if I use purely food, and then I come in to layer e-collar, I would teach them from scratch using the e-collar, even though I already know they have an understanding of going to the object. All this is gonna do, or what's gonna happen, is the progress of the dog learning that the collar means go to the object is gonna be a lot quicker because there's already familiarity. The dog already understands it as being a solution, right? So then in the future, once a dog has been trained with the remote collar or the prong collar, if they break the position and I use the collar to correct them, they're going to understand why it's happening. They're going, oh, okay, I'm being corrected here because I was sent to place and I'm supposed to stay here, but I chose to break prematurely. That's why the conditioning process is so important. I can always tell when a dog has been trained using food and then corrected using e-collar without it being conditioned correctly, because the owner will often complain about, Jesse, I will say place and my dog will go to place. I know they know how to go to place, but when they break the position and or if they ignore the command, when I correct them, they don't know what to do. That's the most common thing that I hear, is they go, I know the dog knows it because they'll do it when I say it, but they don't do it when I correct them or when I use the collar to reinforce the command. And I tell them this is because it wasn't conditioned correctly. The dog was most likely trained using punishment-based methods, okay? And it can be confusing because they're like, well, if e-collar is an aversive, like, isn't it all punishment? In my opinion, like, no. When the dog understands it correctly, it's communication. It can absolutely punish when necessary, but it's communication. So if I've trained a dog on e-collar, even without words, when I press the button, the dog is gonna go to the object, okay? The dog understands the thing is on, I wanna turn it off, I'm gonna go to the object. So once I've trained a dog, if the client says place and the dog doesn't perform, they would tap on the button and the dog would go. Or if they say place and a dog goes and they break the command, when I tap on the button, they're gonna return to the object. Okay, so that's what it should look like when it's been conditioned correctly. Unfortunately, this happens more often than you would think. Just because a trainer uses e-collar does not mean that they know what they're doing. Anytime we're using an aversive, the aversive should reinforce what it is the dog was doing and or should reinforce what it is that you're saying, okay, when done correctly.